Well, hello. I have found a screwdriver, and I have opened the top of this 8050, and everything looks good. Let me tell you about the smoke. First of all, there was quite a bit of it, and it just kept slowly rolling out all the vents. So when I opened it up, I thought I would find something sort of obvious. All I ended up finding was, and I'll just set it in here, this paper circular thing. I think it goes on, well, I know it's on the bottom of the drives to test out, so you can do speed tests and things. But besides that, I don't see anything. By the way, the smell of the smoke was paper. It absolutely was paper. It is not an electrical burn. And I have not tried it yet, but it did seem to be working. So nothing looks terrible. I mean, it could have just been, because this thing was sitting up on the transformer, it could have been between the I don't know. So I'm looking elsewhere for more anything, and I don't see anything. So I'm going to turn this on. So it is on, and as you see, the lights still flash as they should. And I'm suspecting they flashed when I did that. So there, we have an error light. Why do we have an error light? Well, there's no disk in there. So I'm going to put a disk in drive 0, and I'm going to put a disk in drive 1, if it will go. Now that, oh, now that's interesting. It feels, oh, no, I took it. Now, remember I talked about tickling the disk drive? Well, with the 8050 and the 8250 and later 1541s, when you put a disk in, it automatically spins. So I know these disks are blank. So I'm going to see if I can format them. So I'm going to enter in on the 8296 open 15, 8, 15, quote N0 colon 8050 drive 0, D0 quote colon close 15, and I'm going to press return. So there is the headbang, and the activity light is on. I'm just trying to listen in, see if I can hear the head bang, not banging, sorry, head moving. And it is difficult. So I'm not sure if it is or not. But the light is green. That is always a good sign. So, the 8050, the workhorse of the Commodore world, until of course the 8250 came out. And what really started happening is people started using these machines for what they were supposed to be used for, which was like Well, I know TPUG used the Commodore machines to keep track of the membership, and the membership grew massively. So more and more and more, just like other places, with like inventory things and accounting things and all kinds of stuff, they just needed more storage, more storage. TPUG eventually was using the Commodore hard drives, and I think mostly they were the 9090 version, I believe. And that all went well until somebody broke into the TPUG offices and stole things. Now, of course, there were backups, so, you know, we survived. So, oh, just looking. I'm not going to touch it now, but this cable looks a little askew. So, for a disk drive that is some, oh, not quite 40 years old now, it's looking pretty fine. It's sounding fine. The smoke, which I can still smell in the air here, really did smell like paper. Which is also very baffling because, as I said, the thing was on and it made the funny noise. Like, I guess thinking back, it almost did kind of sound like a match being lit. But then, there was nothing. So maybe there was just some little something, because this, oh, okay, we are finished. Oh, we have an error. The legal tracking sector. Well, that is not necessarily surprising. Oh dear God. I feel a sneeze. Maybe not. I'm going to try drive 1. Now, the one thing about using these things is you were supposed to use different disks. And I, at the second right here, right now, don't have the higher density disks right here. So anyway, I'm just trying this with regular disks. See. Now with this one, boy, that's quiet. I can see, and perhaps you can see, maybe, possibly, the stepper motor is stepping, and the drive head is moving. It is. So that's always encouraging. And the green light is on. I should have checked the disk status, which is you can do by putting print DS $in at any time. I should have done that right after the format, which I did not do. So this time I entered open 15, 8, 15, quote, N1, because I'm doing drive 1, and the N is for new, which means it's going to format it, or new the disk. 1 is the drive number, colon, I called it 8050 drive 1, comma D1, which is the disk ID, which forces it to do a real format. If you don't put in an ID, it will do a quick format, if I remember, but if the disk isn't formatted, it won't do anything. Anyway, open 15, 8, 15, quote, N1, colon, 8050 drive 1, comma, D1, quote, colon, close 15. So as with everything, we open a file, we must close a file. So, sort of like you go into a room, you turn on the light, you leave the room, you turn it off. So I'm not going to do a catalog until I have checked the disk status this time. Oh, well, this is unique. I'm not sure if you can hear, but Penny has popped in for a little visit. And just as quickly, she's run away. Penny is cat. Sheldon is a cat. Penny and Sheldon are brother and sister. They were rescued. Oh, she's still peeking around here. Hello, Penny. Oh, yes, hello, Penny. So, formatting on an 8050 does take longer than a 4040 or a 1541 or a 1571. But it does seem to be doing it. It does. I can see the stepper motor. Oh, okay. Before anything, I'm going to print GS string, illegal track and sector. So, when I do catalog, neither one of these will probably read. Oh. Well. Okay. So drive 1 did appear to format. So, just to test things out, let's put the drive 1 disk. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to push on that a little. Nope, it's okay. Let's see if the disk that just read, oh, in drive 1, it does. So, now, keeping in mind all things, just because something did not work once, it doesn't mean it did. Drive 0, G0. So, I'm going to try to format the disk that didn't format in drive 0 in drive 1. I shall. So, once again. Oh. Well, that went well. Yeah. You gotta be careful about these things. Write, protect, stickers are good. Thankfully, this was a blank disk. What I ended up doing just there is I was going to format the disk from drive 0 and drive 1. And I made one little error in that I did open 15, 8, 15, quote N0 when I meant to do N1. And why did I screw up like that? Well, I had put in, I wanted to still name it drive 0, even though I was doing it in drive 1 and have a different disk ID, etc., etc., etc. But in doing so, I just, you know, put in the N0 instead of the N1. So, but this will be okay. It's not what I had in mind, but it's okay. In that what it's going to do, it will format the disk that would work in drive 1, and it will give it a try in drive 0. So we'll see if the disk that works. Basically what we're trying to do is just see, are things consistent? So it does sound good. As you look into the top of the drive, of course, you can see back in the corner there's a power supply. And drive 1 looks very empty on the top. And drive 0 has what I assume would be the disk controller board. So the upper circuit board, which you can't see right now, has all the Commodore joyful things. And then it connects to the board, which is on top of drive 0. And somehow or another, whatever it is that the Commodore board wants the disk drive to do, it sends down to the controller, and the controller goes from there. So the controller board it takes power from the main board, and there are, let's see, power goes into the main board, power comes out of the main board. Then this ribbon cable seems pretty important, as I think that's where all the data and all the information flow. And the other thing, what is that going to? Oh, the other connector that I can see of the 4 seems to be to do with all the LEDs. So when the light is when the drive is working or doing something, the LED is green. and any errors show up there. If that turns red, there is trouble. So, yes, formatting is slow on this drive. Okay, it is done. So, before I do anything else, I'm going to catalog drive 0. And it comes up and says drive 0. So now, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to stop recording, and because I can here, I can get really close, or much closer. I can zoom in on the head and the stepper motor, which of course moves the head and the disk will spin, etc. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do another format, but I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to adjust things so you can get a really close look inside. So, thank you for being here. We will continue to explore this 8050 dual disk drive, of course made by Commodore. Bye for now.